What's going on, everybody? It's Mud here with TCG Armory, and this is the overarching video that is going to cover all of the current traits in the card game Chronicles of Arcane. Now, in this video, I am going to go over each individual trait. However, the big traits, the ones that might have a few more questions or scenario concerns, such as aerial and or stealth, will have their own video cut out aside of this so that you can go through it anytime. The next trait we're going to go over is Magic Ward. Magic Ward states that any card that has that trait cannot be the target of a spell. So we come over here and we see Mother of the Deep as 6/8 that has Magic Ward and Persistence. And as an example, we're going to use the card Spark. So Spark says deal 1 damage to target creature or player. Okay, well, this is a creature, so normally I would be able to target it, but because it has Magic Ward, it is not a legal target. Artifacts are another card or perpetual that you would see have Magic Ward. And as we see right here, this is Ancestral Orchid, a 0/5 that has Magic Ward. Where we get around that not being able to target is with cards like Shatter. Shatter states select a column in the battlefield. And for a quick refresher, side to side are rows, front to back are column. So this is a column, this is a column, this is a column, 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 row, row, front row, back row. These columns don't specifically have a name yet. You would just want to be, hey, I'm targeting this column, this column. But in our case, we are targeting this column. So both this front and back position. There is nothing in the front position. There is only something in the back position, which is that Ancestral Orchid. And it would deal 2 damage to that artifact. And just for argument's sake, let's say that this Ancestral Orchid was actually at 2 HP. You would invoke Shatter, deal 2 damage to artifacts in that column. So this would take 2 damage, have it removed, go to Sanctum, and because it destroyed an artifact, the controller would lose 2 life. These next 3 traits I'm going to go over all kind of affects or influence when you're invoking them. So I'm just going to kind of neatly wrap them all together. The first trait that we're going to go over is the trap trait. The trap trait can be found on spells, artifacts, and or creatures, and it states that a card with trap may be invoked out of turn. So most commonly, at least in my case, I will invoke a trap card typically towards the end of another player's turn, such as a creature, so that way I will have my essence refreshed when it becomes my turn again. But you can invoke a trap card whenever you feel would be necessary. Like Spark, I just say that they bring out a card or they have a card that has 1 health left. I would want to quickly dispose of it so I could play this card, Spark, to deal 1 damage to it immediately, even though it is not my turn. Same thing with Soothing Stone. Let's say that it's either past my main phase, my combat phase, or it's the other player's turn. I really want this Soothing Stone. I would want to bring this out. I could pay for it and bring it out. Typically, what I like to do with the Soothing Stone is either bring it out on someone else's turn or do it after combat, because I can see that right there. My once per turn, I may roll a d6 on 1 through 5. I can heal all creatures in that row, the row that Soothing Stone is in for 1, or heal all creatures in all front rows for 1. Soothing Stone loses 1 HP. So, very nice card. The last card creature is the Trench Lurker. You pay 3 and you can invoke it. But here's where I'm going to tie in the second trait you see there called Stealth. What Stealth allows is the option for a card to come in 2 ways. A creature with Stealth can come in face up, but if it does, it automatically loses Stealth. It can, however, be invoked face down. What you will do if you invoke a creature face down is, hey, I'm paying 3 water essence for this creature, and it is coming in stealth. Now, obviously, there aren't many cards that have 3 essence, water, and trap stealth. So, at the beginning of the game, stealth is not going to have as much of a draw for the player that knows every card in the game. However, as sets come out, as the repertoire expands, the stealth trait is going to become a very strong trait. As with any kind of cheating or lying, if it is discovered that you incorrectly paid the amounts, uh, that will be handled accordingly. Final trait that I'm going to bundle into these invoking specific traits is called haste. Haste will typically be found on creatures just because it states that they come in unexhausted, just ready to go. So when I would invoke a Veilstorm Blade, he would come out and he's automatically ready to attack. This next duo of traits, again, are traits that coincide with each other, so they will be brought together. So this first one I'm going to go over is Death Strike. Death Strike states that any combat damage dealt to another creature will destroy that creature. However, the difference in HP, so for example, this 1/1, if it were to attack a 5/5 creature, the Death Strike will destroy that hypothetical 5/5 creature, but the difference in HP is 4 because 5 minus 1 is 4. So the controller of Night Stalker will lose 4 HP. Excuse me, for life. This is because this is a way to balance out being able to take down such a big creature. There has to be a cost associated with it. That is why it does that. This other trait right here, Undead, it uniquely pairs with Death Strike because a creature with Death Strike may not automatically destroy an undead creature. Now, in this combat, they would both destroy each other because it has 1 HP. But for example, let's just say that Foundry Hunter Wraith had 2 HP or anything bigger than 1. It wouldn't be able to be destroyed automatically just by throughout normal combat damage. That Death Strike damage wouldn't be lethal to the Foundry Hunter Wraith. It wouldn't kill it. However, the cost of having undead states that any healing effect is inverse for any undead creature. So let's just say I invoke Restoration to restore 2 HP. That would actually cause Foundry Hunter Wraith to take 2 damage. And in this case, would destroy it. This bundle of traits, again, go together. They're similar thematically. However, because this includes aerial, this chunk will definitely take a portion of the video and will actually be its own video aside from this. So, aerial. Aerial states that initially it cannot be targeted by creatures that do not have aerial or reach. You can think of reach as having a ranged magic, a sniper rifle, a bow, some way to shoot up at something or get to something from where you're sitting. That is how reach can be viewed. So aerial, it is up in the sky. And actually, we are going to give ourselves a little block so that we can keep track of it being in the sky, just so that it makes sense. So you can think of aerial as being above. So if I were to have a creature that is in this front row, we see that aerial is above. So creatures with aerial may pass through creatures without aerial to attack. Now, in the same sense, let's say that our Cloud Fury Elemental was here and our Arcanist was in the back row. There is now pass through underneath this flying creature, this creature with aerial. So friendly creatures would be able to attack underneath, and on the same coin, creatures that on the opposing side would be able to come underneath and attack that back row. However, if that aerial creature is still unexhausted, it still may block or defend for that back row creature. It just because it is in the air and has passed through, it does not automatically force blocking. You can choose if it is unexhausted. Now, I mentioned the reach and how that affects things. I'm going to bring in just some example creatures like this. So, you can actually bring this block back. That helps. All right, so as we see right here, the legal target, Night Stalker, can actually go through and hit this Arcanist. And normally, this creature, Arcanist, would be able to just hit the Night Stalker. However, because it has reach, it is legally able to target the Foundry Hunter Wraith. And that is specifically because of reach. Reach can target any flying perpetual or perpetual with aerial, and or any back row creature that would normally be a legal target. So if a creature has stealth, again, this wouldn't target it. If it had something saying, hey, this can't be targeted by attacks, that of course counters it. But this setup right here, Arcanists can legally attack both Night Stalker and Foundry Hunter Wraith. Now let's do a little mix up here and say that Cloud Fury Elemental is the one behind. This Arcanist with Reach is still able to attack that creature with Aerial. Now, for demonstration purposes, in talking about these next couple traits that are all kind of active on the battlefield and mainly important in combat, I've set up a little scenario. So this first one, we have haste. And if we remember, haste states that a creature comes in unexhausted. Okay, we're comfortable with that. We know that. This next trait, preemptive strike, is very important. Preemptive strikes means that this creature swings before any other creature. If the other creature does have preemptive strike, the combat resumes as normal, as they're both just getting fast enough to come swing at each other. But in this example, we're going to use this Sea Serpent with preemptive strike and this Night Stalker with no preemptive strike. So as we just learned, a Night Stalker that has Death Strike would mean that it would instantly destroy any creature that it can touch. However, excusing undead. However, the Sea Serpent would come in and swing, and because it has preemptive strike, it hits Night Stalker before it has that chance to do the lethal damage. Okay, this next thing we have Cleave. Cleave is a special trait that came out in the mini set Luxuriant War, and it states that when a creature deals damage, creatures adjacent to that target take the value of damage. So in this instance, we have Cleave 1. So the Armored Beast Thornar is going to come and attack Nigerian Phantom King, and it's going to do 1 damage to Burning Pumpkin Golem and 1 damage to the Arcanist because of Cleave. So where this becomes important is with artifacts. We're going to just find one real quick. Let's say, for example, that there was an Abyssal Bone Blade in this space, and with Armored Beast Thornar, I attacked the Phantom King. Well, because this is not a creature, it would not take the cleave damage. However, if I attack this Abyssal Bone Blade, these are both creatures, and they would still take the cleave damage. You can think of cleave as like a swipe, a broad swipe, in this case with claws, but with anything else with cleave, maybe like a pole vault or a scythe. Just thematically, it is a sweep across the board. Okay, this next trait is actually, I'm going to go to the sister trait of cleave, which is pierce. We went over pierce a little bit earlier, but we're going to just talk about it again using the same scenario. So if I had this Burning Pumpkin Golem behind the Arcanist and this Merfolk Deserter with Pierce 1 attacked and did damage to Arcanist, it would do the 1 damage behind it to the Burning Pumpkin Golem. However, if I took this Merfolk Deserter and I attacked the Phantom King and attacked it, it would do the 2 damage to the Phantom King, and then it would not do any damage to the Abyssal Bone Blade because it is not a creature. In a reverse scenario, I would attack this Abyssal Bone Blade, and the pierce damage would do 1 to the Phantom King. Something important to keep in mind, however, is that you do have to target the Abyssal Bone Blade in that little scenario because artifacts do have pass through. So there is nothing stopping me from just going and attacking the Phantom King, but I know that my 2/2 can't beat a 7/7, so that I would initially want to poke this to do a little poke at that. And maybe that sets me up somewhere else to do bigger damage. The world's your oyster. Okay. So let's say that we set the board and we return our board state. And it is now the Void player's turn. Void Fire. Okay. So before any attack can be declared, we have to recognize Taunt. Taunt is a trait that can only be active in the front row, It must be invoked in the front row. And if it were able somehow to not be targeted by normal means, or if you somehow can get it in the back row by whatever means you can find, taunt becomes inactive. Taunt is only in effect when it is a legal target. Okay, so what does taunt do? Taunt states that it must be attacked before any other creature on the battlefield or any other target. So if I have multiple, or there's even one on the opponent's side, any creature with taunt becomes a legal target, but they become the only legal targets. Okay, so coming through here, I'm going to go to my Night Stalker, and he's going to swing into that Stonefist Baboon. Now, Stonefist Baboon returns the 1 damage, so he would die. Night Stalker does have Death Strike, so the Stonefist Baboon would be sent to the Sanctum as well. But because that Stonefist Baboon has 4 HP, Night Stalker has 1 HP, the Void Fire player would lose 3 life. All right, so now that we've lost life, let's look at Life Drain. So, each time you lose life as a result of a fire card, Burning Pumpkin gains +1/-1. This effect does not activate if it has 1 HP. So, you know that this is going to continue activating until it becomes a 4/1. Life Drain is very crucial. Life Drain will heal the controlling player for the damage that it does. So we see that this starts out at 0, meaning that if it attacks and does 0 damage, you get 0 life. However, let's just say that we've gone a couple rounds with the, oh, I burned myself, let me make this bigger route. We're going to, boom, say this is at 1, and this goes to 4. All right. So now 4/1, and I'm swinging, and I want to take out any creature. It doesn't matter. I do actually, it does matter, but I do I will attack this. I do 2 damage to kill it. Okay. So I do 2 damage, and it would do 2 damage back. Because I only did 2 damage, because it has a max of 2 HP, I would only heal for 2. Now, let's say I attacked Armored Beast Thornar. Okay. Well, I would get the full 4 HP, or 4 life, excuse me, because it has 4 HP. All right. And then the last scenario, let's say it goes to attack the creature with Preemptive Strike, you would gain no HP, or no life, excuse me, because that Sea Serpent swings first. All right. So, Burning Pumpkin Golem would be destroyed. But we've already been over Reach, so now we're going to go over Formidable. Formidable is a trait that states that a creature with Formidable may not be blocked except by 2 or more creatures. So, knowing that, I would want to try to clog up the board somehow. I would try to do anything I can to make sure there's only 1 creature, because then if there's only 1 creature up, this should be able to go through and swing. But because there's not, I would swing for 7, targeting this player, and they would be able to come through. And so Sea Serpent swings first, dealing 1 damage, so it becomes a 7/6. And then Phantom King and Armored Beast Thornar do the same damage. So then it would swing 7 into that, 7 into Sea Serpent, and when we have the combined HP, that's 5. So then 2 would return to the original target. This last trait that I'm going to go over is a bit of an enigma, because the only card that it displays on is actually a typo. So the trait is called Unblockable, which, if you could guess by the name, states that it cannot be blocked. And this card, Avenging Golem, is the only card that can gain that trait as of right now. So, this card states that if a friendly creature was destroyed during your opponent's last turn, Avenging Golem gains Unstoppable until the end of your turn. So this card, Unstoppable, it means unblockable. So let's just say that we did have a creature, any creature will do. For example, we have this Foundry Hunter Wraith. This was destroyed during my opponent's last turn. Then on my turn, this becomes a 3/5 that cannot be blocked. And here we are, the wrap up of the video. Thank you everybody so much for watching and making it to the end. As I mentioned, I will be uploading the aerial segments as its own video. I will make a more in-depth video on stealth because it just includes so much nonsense that it doesn't need to be go over when I can simply just put what I put in this video. As more traits come out in this game, I will be making smaller videos to just explore them. And if there is a block of traits that come out in a set, then I will do another one of these. Thank you so much for watching. This is Mud.